Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to our new top 10 video. So in my last poll I asked you what do you want to see as a top 10 subject. You decided that you wanted to see the top 10 openings in chess, but I had my troubles to maybe decide which opening is better. For instance, we have the King's Indian, which is a response to d4. We have, for instance, the Najdorf, which is a response to e4. So it was really hard for me to decide which is better, maybe the King's Indian, maybe the Najdorf, because these are responses to other games. So that's why I decided to first show you my top 10 responses to d4. So maybe you can choose an opening here from this video, and I would also to ask you, please maybe write in the comment section below which opening we should use as a new series, because if you're familiar more with my YouTube chess channel, I've created the King's Indian and the nimzo-indian, which will continue in the future of my YouTube chess channel. So I'm going to continue this nimzo-indian, but I wanted to also maybe to choose which opening we should analyze from black's perspective as a response to d4. And today I decided to show you really my top 10. You may agree, probably you will not agree, but I think I have good reasons why I'm showing you these openings, because when we are beginning to play chess, when we are starting, then we have sometimes troubles to understand the positional ideas behind openings. We start to maybe play an opening because we saw someone else that he's playing that opening, he played it very well, but when we play it we don't understand the strategies behind this opening, so it could be a problem. Then you try to shift between openings and then you lose simply time. So as a top 10 on the place 10, I decided to show you this Dutch defense. So it's number 10, the Dutch defense. The response is f5 after knight to f3, which would be sort of a main line. We have e6 after g3. We could go here knight to f6 first after bishop to g2. Our main idea here is to play the move d5 after castling. We could go here, really build this stonewall formation. Okay, what bothered me always about the Dutch defense is these weaknesses that can happen to you in a chess game. So if you're not familiar with common strategies, with common Staunton strategies, you should avoid to play the Dutch defense. Here you see we have the weakness on e5, we have the weakness on c5. On the other hand, our outpost could maybe kicked away with potential f3 moves. Okay, but I decided to show you now a line after bishop to d6, pardon me, here after something like c4 is white's best idea. Here after bishop to d6, white could play something like b3. Here I want you to pay good attention, because the Dutch defense can be very simple sometimes for white. If we evaluate this position from bishop's activity, our dark square bishop is very active on this diagonal. So on the other hand, white's light square diagonal has also some good activities. Our light square bishop is here bad on c8. So what white could do in after the move b3 is to go into positional trades of pieces. So that's why you have to be careful. You have to play something like queen to e7 in order to prevent maybe here bishop to a3 ideas. So this would be sort of a setup. After knight to c3, we could go simply castling, and after, I don't know, maybe something like queen to c2, our main goal is here this potential outpost on e4. So then we should maybe try something like bishop to d7, bishop to e8, maybe bishop to h5 in order to develop our light square bishop, maybe followed with knight to d7, rook to c8, and maybe trying get some kind of an activity here on the c file, maybe against the queen. So these are the main strategical ideas of the Dutch defense. Here this so-called fianchetto attack, but what always distracted me from playing the Dutch defense is the Staunton Gambit. So the Staunton Gambit is one of these correct gambits. I think it's really a tactical battle. So I think you may get annoyed by this very aggressive line of whites to attack you immediately with the move e4. Basically you have to take, and then the game gets dynamic after knight to c3, bishop to g5, f3 ideas, and similar stuff. So this is my top number 10. Let's see now number 9. As Number 9, I wanted to show you this so-called Check Benoni. So the main Benoni, which I haven't placed on my top 10 list. I haven't put this Benoni. Some of you may get disappointed by my choice, but I placed basically 3 sidelines of the Benoni, which are, I think, which are better than the common Benoni. The common Benoni goes after d4 knight to f6, c4 here, after something like c5. Your opponent could play here the move d5, we go e6, he goes knight to c3, and after e4, pardon me, after the e takes d5, c takes d5, d6, e4, we have here g7, g6, and after knight to f3, bishop to g7 would be sort of a main line of the Benoni defense. Okay, this is playable. What always why I always in the last period avoided to play the Benoni is after potential a6, it gives me simply too much pressure to make something here a6 b5. It takes me simply too long, so that's why I wouldn't recommend you to play the Benoni. I would recommend you here to play the Check Benoni, which is similar but a little bit different, a more positional idea. Here I want you to memorize this move e5, because this is now the Check Benoni setup. What white doesn't want to do here is to take d takes e6. After f takes e6, we have here now powerful center, and we would have here the possibility to play simply d5 and get really a nice central pawn storm. So after the move e5, most of the times you see that your opponent will play knight to c3. So this is the main setup of the Check Benoni. We play d6, he plays knight to f3, we play bishop to e7, and now after e4, we could go here really into a nice positional line, which is, I think, good for positional players. We could go bishop to g4. After h3, we could simply take bishop takes f3, and here queen takes f3. So this would be sort of a main idea of the Check Benoni, is now to play something like knight to d7, bishop to g5, trade off our bad bishop, because our bad bishop here, dark square bishop, is blocked out. So knight to d7 followed with bishop to g5 is really a nice positional idea. So if you want to see more about this check opening, check out maybe some other lines, other possibilities. But after potential trades of dark square bishops, white will continue the game with the bad light square bishop. So this is my recommendation. Here I'll stop with the Check Benoni, because you should really try it for yourself. I cannot explain now all of these openings in this video. Okay, this is now our number 9. On number 8, I decided to place here this so-called Benko Gambit. The Benko Gambit is a great opening for tacticians, because here after the move d5, as I said, it's similar to the Benoni. I placed now, as I mentioned, I didn't place the Benoni itself. I placed sort of sidelines of the Benoni. Here after the move d5, the Benko Gambit goes here with the move b5. The Benko Gambit is good because the move order is easy to memorize. Basically here the best way for white is to proceed here with the move b5. Then our main line is to play something like a6, here simply kicking away the pawn. Here after pawn takes a6, we have bishop takes a6, and here the main line would be e4. After bishop takes f1, king takes f1, now d6 followed with g6, bishop to g7, and maybe knight from b to d7, here simply cementing our knight. So the Benoni, the main idea of the Benoni is always, let's see now a couple of moves. Here after king to f1, we have maybe here by white knight to f3, g6, we have g3, white wants to castle here, after bishop to g7, king to g2, castling, and maybe here white could try rook to e1, or maybe here some h3 ideas. Let's see, rook to e1, here knight to d7, and now after something like knight to c3, our main goal here in the Benoni is to play something like queen to a5, then followed with rook to b8, and black will create really some great pressure here on the a and b file, although down the pawn. Of course, many sidelines can happen. I just showed you this particular line. So this video I'm creating out of my head. I'm not using here any notebooks. I'm not creating. I don't use here engines or something. I just wanted to show you maybe here the main ideas. Here in the Benko Gambit, the main idea is to attack here the B weakness, the A weakness, these are these main targets in our position. Maybe somehow liberate here the dark square diagonal. And also we have possibilities maybe with moves as E6 to crack the position here on the square D5. So this is maybe a great opening for tacticians. If you feel that you're more of an attacker, then you should maybe try to play the Benko Gambit. So let's see now our number 7. Number 7, I decided to place here the so-called Blumenthal Gambit, which is also in the Gambit, but it's really a sick idea, I think, in chess, because the Blumenthal Gambit goes basically from a nimzo-indian setup. After d4, knight to f6, we have c4, and we place now here the move e6. Your opponent could maybe here play the move knight to c3, and basically what we do here is that we are going into so-called Benoni again first, similar to the Benoni, and after the move d5 we play on this gambit idea to play the move here b5. So these are the troubles, because most of the times you see that your opponent will take here first the pawn, and or he'll take simply here the pawn on e6, and then we have f takes e6, and after something like c takes b5, you have the opportunity to play something like d5. So what we gain here from this, from black's perspective, is this 3 centralized pawns. Although we lost a pawn, but it will be hard here for white to create really some pass pawn situations, as this central pawn storm is playing a very important restriction idea. We're restricting here really this 4 central squares. The main line would be something like bishop to g5, then you can play bishop to e7, and here maybe e3. But still, our main goal here is to advance the pawn and maybe really crush white with this central pawn storm, because it's very hard here for white to find the best squares for the bishop. For instance, if the bishop comes out very early, then it may get kicked away. So I've seen now many times this opening played by top grandmasters, and white had always some troubles to counterplay here. So as I said, the Blumenthal Gambit is for me on the number 7. So let's check out here our number 6. I decided to place on number 6 the opening that I play most often. It's the King's Indian. Although I'm playing it, sometimes I wouldn't suggest it to someone. And if you're familiar more with my YouTube chess channel, I've created this series, the King's Indian from A to Z. The problem about the King's Indian is basically that it's one of the most tactical openings in chess. So if you're not some kind of a tactician, you should really try to avoid it, because the main line after d4, knight to f6, c4, g6, knight to c3, bishop to g7, e4, d6, and here after knight to f3, castling, bishop to e2, and now e5. The main line is here to play kingside castling. After knight to c6, we have d5, and now knight to e7, which is the so-called orthodox or classical line of the King's Indian, most of the times played in this very nice opening. So the problem for black in these positions is always this queenside pawn storm that white will create with the b4, c5 pawn breakthrough possibilities. Our main goal is here to play knight to after knight to e7, pardon me, here knight to e1 could be played by white, which is still the main line, knight to d7, knight to d3, here something like f5, f3, f4. Okay, the problem for black, as I mentioned, is always white's possibility to play here something like b4, c5. And most of the times the King's Indian ends with some checkmate threats by black. But if you don't play this attack very accurate, if you don't find great attacking ideas, you will be destroyed in the King's Indian from white's white will destroy you, I think. So sometimes it's really hard maybe to find maybe 5-6 move tactics. So that's why, again, maybe this is not the best opening if you want to play really I don't know, in a more healthier way. So the King's Indian can be sometimes a positional game, but most of the times it's really a great tactical battle. As I said, if you want to check it out, I've created I think 45 videos from black's perspective in the King's Indian, so you can check it out on my YouTube chess channel. Maybe you get attracted more to it, but still I would place it only on the place 6. So on the place 5, I placed here the Slav defense after d4, d5, c4, c6. So the Slav defense, it's one of the most firm openings against against d4. I think if you maybe a Caro-Kann player or similar ideas, if you maybe a French defense player, you should try the semi-slav or the Slav defense, because the ideas in these openings are similar. The pawn structures are sometimes very similar. So if you familiar with ideas maybe in the Caro-Kann, I think you could also handle very well maybe here the Slav defense. So the main line would be something after c6, knight to f3, here maybe knight to f6, knight to c3, maybe e6, the semi-Slav after something like e3, bishop to e7, bishop to d3, kingside castling, and maybe here kingside castling. One of the main ideas of blacks here is to play d takes c4 after bishop takes c4, b5, getting some tempos on the bishop, although you have lost a little bit this pawn central control, because white has the domination of pawns in the center, because you see white has 2 centralized pawns, you have only 1. But you could maybe try something like a6, bishop to b7, c5, some expansion here on the queen side. So this would be sort of a game in the semi-Slav defense. Okay, as I said, this is a very firm opening. Maybe if you're trying to play more dynamic, you shouldn't choose it, because the semi-Slav is really sometimes too static for my taste. So that's why I played it sometimes, but I stopped to, because I don't like static positions. So okay, but that's just me. Let's see now our number 4. It's the Queen's Gambit decline, the common Queen's Gambit decline, d4, d5. After c4, we are not playing c6, we play e6. And I think the Queen's Gambit decline is better than the Slav defense, although it seems that basically there's not so much difference between these two openings. But after e6, you have still this common idea. Maybe here after moves at knight to c3, knight to f6, knight to f3, I would recommend you maybe to go into the so-called Ragozin, which is similar to the nimzo-indian. The nimzo-indian will show also now in the continuation of this video. But this Ragozin is very aggressive, because after something like bishop to g5, we could always h6, g5, knight to e4, continue on our pinning idea, and sometimes we could go very aggressively with the move c5 and followed with queen to a5. So this would be again sort of a setup, but you don't have to play this very aggressive Ragozin. You could also play maybe with bishop to e7, e3, knight here from b to d7, or if white tries here, maybe bishop to f4, bishop to f4, or bishop to g5, knight to d7, and still I think this is playable for black. But this Ragozin, as I mentioned, is much more active here in the common Queen's Gambit decline. Now the position gets more like a Slav defense that I've explained now before. So as I said, this is now our number 4. On number 3, I think this will be a surprise for you, because this opening, if you understand it, I think you can crush really much better players than you. So because this opening I still don't dare to play myself, because I'm not familiar with my sidelines, but I am preparing this opening, which is the Taurus defense. And the Taurus, it seems to you that maybe this is not good, this is too dynamic for you, but the Taurus has really one of the sickest ideas, I think, in chess, and it's to create really a dynamic endgame. So I'll show you now the common idea, but maybe you can agree with me why I placed it on the place 3. I've seen now many times Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru, I don't know, Ivanchuk, many of these great players facing the Taurus, and most of the times only they get a draw, because the Taurus is very tricky. So here d4, knight to f6, c4, we could go here pardon me, this was not the move order. d4, d5, c4. We could go e6 after knight to f3, knight to f6, and here after knight to c3, we could go here with the move c5. And what white doesn't want to do here is risk isolated pawn situation. So what white doesn't want to do is here really to allow maybe black to take the c takes d4, then followed with knight takes d4. Most of the times you see that white will take simply undermine the pressure here in the center, c takes d5. And now the main idea of the Taras is to take with the knight, allowing, basically inviting white to play the move e4 after knight takes c3, we have b takes c3, and now after c takes d4, and now bishop to b4. This is the main line of the Taras. After bishop to d2, bishop takes d2, queen takes d2, and now we could simply go b6. Okay, the sick idea. So as I said, I will try to study this opening by myself. I want to surprise maybe much better players than me. The idea behind this opening is to play simply on our main goal, which is to go into an endgame. So white here, the position, I hope you realize, is much more simplified. We have traded one knight off the board, we have traded also one bishop off the board, so there is, I think, not so much of tension here in the game. After castling, here if we castle, for instance, pardon me, here white could try bishop to c4, we castle. What the main idea, as I said, is to go now into a favorable endgame, because if we trade off these bishops, if we trade off these knights off the board, and even if we trade off maybe some more pieces like the queens, the rooks, here maybe some other rooks, so if you could just imagine this position without the pieces on the board, so the idea in the Taras is to go into an endgame in which we have this 2 versus 1 situation. So although white has so far a better position, because white has this pawn-centric control with these 2 pawns in the center, which is of course a very good thing, because we're restricting black's ability to play on these 4 centralized squares. But if this game goes into an endgame, I think black is in the winning side. So now our main goal is to go into an endgame. So I think I'll try it out, which is a very simplified line, because you can play these moves very often. So Taras, I would place it on the number 3. So let's go now to number 2. It's the improved Taras, as I always like to say, it's the Grunfeld. So after d4, we have knight to f6. Here your opponent will play c3, we play g6, he plays knight to c3, and we play immediately d5. So here after c takes d5, knight takes d5, here opponent could play again this move e4, we have knight to c3, b takes c3, and now we have bishop to g7, knight to f3 would be sort of a main line. And now after castling, maybe here I don't know, bishop to c4, bishop to e2, and now we play our same idea like in the Taurus defense to play the move c5. Let's imagine here castling, we have c takes d4, c takes d4. So still it's similar. Again, we have here the 2 versus 1 situation on the queen side. So if this game goes into an endgame, we could create really a distant pass pawn. So far, white has, of course, again, the advantage, but this is a more dynamic sort of Taras, as I call it, the improved Taras, the Grunfeld defense. So now we have here really great bishop's activity. We could also try to play bishop to g4, undermines here the protection of the d4. So these are the main ideas. So I would stop here, because if I try to show you really the common sidelines of the Grunfeld, this video will last for at least an hour or so. But as an idea to go here into an endgame, I think the Grunfeld is a great opening. So that's why I think it's playable, and it should be really high on our top 10 list, because we see now Maxim Vachier-Lagrave, Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru, Fabiano Caruana playing very nice this opening, get out also some tactical mess. Okay, this is my choice to on the number 2, and on number 1 I decided to place the Nimzo-Indian. So the Nimzo-Indian or the bogo-Indian, you'll see, because there is a difference. Sometimes white will choose a different move order. Here after d4 we have knight to f6, c4. and we have e6, the nimzo-indian preparation. After knight to c3, we have bishop to b4, and I started to analyze this opening on my YouTube chess channel. I have created so far, I think, 10 videos, so you can check it out. We'll continue this series. After bishop to b4, I will stop here because, as I said, if you want to see more about this opening, please watch this videos. This is a very nice opening, and I wanted to show you first why it's a great opening, because we are now in move number 3 after something like, I don't know, e3. The good thing about the nimzo-indian that we have castled already in move 4. So this is the great thing about the nimzo. It's fast development. We have possibility to occupy the e4 square. The next move will probably be b6, bishop to b7. So it's an opening in which we create huge activity with all of your pieces, great activities with your pieces, and with some clear ideas to go into positional game. So as I said, if you want to check out this opening, you can see it on my YouTube chess channel. I think I have explained now many sidelines, but we'll continue it. And as I said, please suggest me more subjects for our next series, how to play against d4. Okay, this will be it for today. These are my top 10 against d4. In my next video, we'll analyze the top 10 openings against e4. If you want to see my other top 10 videos, here's the link. And if you want to see the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history, you can check out this link also. And you can also subscribe to my channel if you like this content. Thanks you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.